In the same way, the Supreme Federal Court will continue to protect all people and their families, including the justices of this court, who may be threatened or coerced by criminal organizations that disguise their journalism, commit various criminal offenses for payment through rewards, through cash payments, or by illicitly purchasing information obtained in a criminal manner. Mr. President, first of all, I would like to congratulate Your Excellency, President Edson Fachin, and for your words of solidarity to Minister Flávio Dino. And more than that, to his entire family, his wife Dani, and his children, whose safety, Mr. President, whose safety was put at real risk by criminal organization, a criminal association, as pointed out by both the Federal Police and the Office of the Prosecutor General. It is the blatant commission of several crimes that are being investigated, including the crime of stalking, as provided in Article 147A of the Penal Code. Both the Federal Police report and the opinion of the Office of the Prosecutor General indicated clear evidence of materiality. There are strong and concrete indications of that the suspects committed the crimes, whether they are lawyers or journalists, pointing out mainly, and here is the most important part, the shared criminal intent among the perpetrators of the criminal offenses, including the transfer of money. Among them, that is, with the transfer of money for the purpose of disseminating information unlawfully, criminosamente obtidos. In this Supreme Federal Court, as Minister Flávio Dino highlighted, defended the freedom of the press during the harsh period of the dictatorship. It continues to defend and will always defend freedom of the press, the free practice of journalism, and all its rights and guarantees, including source confidentiality. Source confidentiality, which is a constitutional guarantee enshrined by this Supreme Court, which has never been and will never be confused with a protective shield for the practice of illegal activities. Source confidentiality is an essential guarantee for the defense of democracy and not a hidden tool for criminal organizations to commit various crimes with impunity. The press is serious in Brazil. Journalists act in good faith and are aware of this, you know? One thing is source confidentiality. Another thing is criminal acts against either authorities or members of society. Let's not confuse investigative journalists with journalists under investigation for criminal activities. The Federal Supreme Court will continue to guarantee all constitutionally enshrined rights to the press and its professionals, not only because it is the duty of the Federal Supreme Court, but because guaranteeing the rights of the press and its professionals is vital to democracy. It is one of the great pillars of democracy. No constitutional guarantee, including the confidentiality of sources, can be used as an instrument of criminal impunity. And as you also pointed out, Mr. President, Your Excellency, this court, acting collectively, will reaffirm this in a judgment by the first panel of the Federal Supreme Court regarding any appeals from those under investigation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Justice Flávio Dino, Your Excellency has the floor to present your vote.
Mr. President, yes. I'll go over an hour or so, I'll start and then continue.
I believe Your Excellency can proceed up to a certain point.
We will use the criterion of Your Excellency, therefore, to the vote, as I did in relation to Your Excellency. I also appreciate the remarks of the eminent Vice President of the Court, Justice Alexandre de Moraes, on a topic that is especially important in the Court's history, regarding the protection of freedoms, as Your Excellency alluded to. It's curious that, before me, only one Supreme Court justice had been followed, along with his family. It was again during the long night of the dictatorship, so I am the second. During the dictatorship, I always refer to the dictatorship for a reason. There are people who have blood-stained hands from torture, who have blood-stained hands from those who were victims of that despotic regime. And suddenly, without respect or retraction, they want to lecture the Supreme Court about freedom. There needs to be humility. Public debate requires this historical understanding so that we all preserve the set of constitutional values: freedom of the press, protection of sources, judicial independence, which obviously cannot be subject to intimidation.
The presidency of the Supreme Federal Court, on behalf of this court, expresses solidarity with Justice Flávio Dino and recognizes that threats to the physical safety of the justices and their families must be thoroughly investigated. The Judicial Police Department of the Supreme Federal Court will cooperate with public authorities for the full clarification of the facts and for accountability, including criminal liability of those who committed the crime. At the same time, as one would expect, the Supreme Federal Court reaffirms its unwavering commitment to the Constitution and to the respect for fundamental freedoms, above all, to the freedom of the press and to the fundamental right of journalists to protect their sources. Over the years, the Supreme Court's case law has emphasized, as one would expect under the aegis of the 1978 Constitution, the primacy that these rights have within the legal framework. The court's case law will remain intact and binding on all branches of the judiciary, and its justices have not deviated and will not deviate from their commitment to these rights. The investigation of any possible offenses must be directed, and will certainly be directed, at everyone whose conduct is the subject of the investigation. Never legitimate journalistic activity carried out in the exercise of its constitutional function. The presidency is convinced that the strength of the court lies in its collegiality, the best expression of solidarity among its members, whether confirming individual decisions or deliberating on the direction and duration of investigations. And the presidency will take the appropriate procedural measures so that these deliberations occur with the promptness that the matter requires. To Justice Flávio Dino and his family, our heartfelt support. And in the virtual session from February 13 to 24 of this year, after the vote of Justice Flávio Dino, the reporting justice, who proposed the confirmation of the interim measure under the terms in which it was granted by a single justice, in which he was joined. He was joined by Justices Dias Toffoli and André Mendonça. The case was removed from the virtual docket by the President. Justice Guiomar Mendes submitted his vote in advance, joining the reporting justice. Mr. Reporting Justice, at the beginning of the session, we will have the oral arguments. I now give the floor to Your Excellency for the report.